This guy who follows me, he's a writer in an unconditional basic income, UBI advocate. Oh, he says unconditional basic. I say universal. I guess, look at that. An unconditional basic income advocate with a crowdfunded basic income. Board of directors, Fund for Humanity. He's a senior policy advisor to Mike for Kentucky. So he says this: I can see people's misunderstanding of UBI already leaking into the emergency UBI plans. Let me try and explain. UBI is about creating an unconditional floor no one can fall beneath that lifts everyone in the economy away from the $0 point. It's not meant as a job replacement. Okay? I think the desire to do things like rent and mortgage freezes is out of fear. Well, also out of necessity. But I see where you're going. What we want is to make sure people can pay their rent and mortgage in the same way they already were. If we freeze stuff, we have to then bail out stuff later. Focus on maintaining consumption instead. That makes sense. So if you put a freeze on mortgages and rents and all, so you put a freeze on rents, well, now your landlord's just going to lose money. And so he's going to, at some point, you got to pay. Right? And he's going to have to bail. So you got to either bail the bank out who's not getting the mortgage payment, or you got to bail out the landlord, or you got to bail. So there's going to be, what he's saying, there's going to be a back-end bailout if you put a freeze on everything. Why not just keep everybody consuming in the same way they are and give direct pay? So what do you say? I say yes. I'm with him on this. The trick here is to maintain the circulation of blood to get oxygen into every cell, not decide which organs to shut down to conserve blood. Besides UBI as a minimum floor, I think our local restaurant we love also needs the government to buy close to the average amount of sales. Basically, we need UBI for people as individual consumers. But because we are in a shutdown scenario, we also need to go one step up and have the government buy what we would have been buying in a universe where the pandemic doesn't exist. We need to try and emulate that universe. Why wouldn't they just give the money straight to us? We will put our money in the bank.
In my mortgage.
Give the money to me. I'm going to put it in, or just make a direct deposit to me in my bank. That way the bank has the money and I have the money. Instead of a pause button approach, it's a simulated play button approach. You keep the music going, but do it in a way where the volume is turned down a bit. Then, when the pandemic is over, crank the music back up and keep the UBI as the foundation we've always needed. I'm for that. He says utilize unemployment insurance pipes on top of UBI for those who have been let go. That's what I've been saying. So he finally came around to my way of thinking. He's listening. Send checks to businesses and the self-employed based on a reduced percentage of average sales to avoid people being let go and businesses and entrepreneurs needing to close their doors. He knows more than me about this, I would think, but again, I don't. I would have to. Maybe I'll reach out to him and have him explain it to me.
You know, I keep going back to put the money in the hands of the people.
That's what I'm going.
That seems to me the most simplistic and most direct and most employable.
I agree with
you. You could do that immediately.
I agree with you 100%. That seems way more easy. It's tempting to throw bigger and bigger checks at this, but the problem is that right now we can't really spend them. Oh, he's saying that if you keep giving UBIs, people can't spend them. We can spend some of the money and need it for our basic bills, but we can't spend it as we usually would at places like the zoo. The zoo needs its own check. So this guy's saying you got to bail out businesses at the same time as you bail out people. I say that's double overkill. But again, we'll get someone smarter your pantser than me to explain this to us. This guy says to him, he says, Scott, you mentioned bailouts. How should we feel about bailouts for companies like airlines who are raking in the money, and now that it stops, they are suddenly too poor to survive a couple of months? Maybe they should have put some money away. I'm kind of okay with emergency loans at most.
You know what? I don't understand why they're not legally bound to put enough money away for constant. Like we're always told, like, don't you have enough money in your savings account to be able to prepare for emergencies? No, we're $500 away from a fucking emergency crisis everybody's feeling right now, except the corporations that we bailed out 20 years ago. They continue to need more money, and we have no skin in the game. We just keep bailing them out with our money.
And the airlines, according to Market Insider, who are begging for a bailout, but they've used 96% of their cash flow on buybacks over the past 10 years. It highlights an ongoing controversy over how companies have been spending their money. So it's irresponsible to do the buybacks when you don't have cash savings that could get you through a tough time. And so now we're going to have to subsidize them while they all put those stock buyback cash right in their pocket. So Scott replies saying, perhaps it's a good opportunity to accept stock in exchange for bailout money and put that stock into an Alaska-style permanent fund that pays dividends to every citizen. I say yes.
Instead of bailing out the businesses, let's fucking bail out the people.
Right.
The people who make this country move forward.
Right.